The sun was rising softly over the dusty lands of Judea, spreading a warm, golden glow across the small, ancient village where life moved slowly. In one corner of this village, under the shade of a lonely date palm tree, lived a poor family: Hannah, the widowed mother, and her 13-year-old son Samuel. Years ago, Samuel's father had been taken and killed by Roman soldiers, leaving Hannah devastated and Samuel fatherless. Since then, the two had survived only by leaning on each other, fighting each day against poverty, hunger, and loneliness. Every morning, Samuel woke before the first rooster crowed. He fetched water from a distant well, helped at the marketplace, and returned home with whatever little he earned. But beneath the tiredness in his eyes lay a deeper pain, a burning question he carried in his heart. Am I worthless? Do I matter to anyone at all? The villagers often whispered cruel things as he walked past. A poor boy like him won't achieve anything, someone would mock. He has no father, no future, another would say. Samuel would hear it all in silence, but the words pierced him like thorns, turning his tender heart into a battlefield of doubt. One warm afternoon, while walking back from the marketplace, carrying a few scraps of bread, Samuel noticed a strange commotion ahead. People were running toward the far end of the village. Someone shouted, "Jesus of Nazareth is here." Samuel froze. He had heard the name before, stories of miracles, healings, kindness beyond human measure. But he had never seen Jesus. Curiosity pulled him forward. Through the crowd, he saw a man standing calmly, his face shining with peace, his eyes overflowing with compassion. The villagers whispered excitedly, "He heals the sick, he comforts the broken. He speaks with authority, yet loves like a father." Samuel listened as Jesus spoke in a soft, soothing voice. "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." At that moment, Samuel felt as if those words had been spoken directly to him. A warmth spread through his chest. It felt like Jesus was calling his name without ever saying it. When the gathering ended, Jesus began walking through the crowd. People reached out to touch him, calling his name, pleading for blessings. But suddenly, Jesus stopped. Everyone wondered why. Then slowly, he walked straight towards Samuel, through the noise, through the crowd, through all barriers. Samuel panicked. He felt unworthy, too small, too insignificant. But Jesus knelt down before him, looked deep into his eyes, and said gently, "My child, why is there so much sadness in your eyes?" That question broke open the dam in Samuel's heart. Tears rushed down his cheeks. With trembling lips, he whispered, "People say I am nothing. They say I'm worthless. My father is gone, my mother is sick, and I am alone." Jesus' expression softened even more, glowing with love. He placed his hand on Samuel's head, and the boy felt a wave of peace wash over him. Jesus said, "Do not listen to the voices of the world. Heaven knows your name. You are precious in the eyes of God. I have seen your pain, and you are never alone, not even for a moment." Samuel hesitated before speaking again. "My mother, she is very ill. She can hardly stand. We have no food, no medicine." Before he could come finish, Jesus said, "Take me to your home." The crowd gasped. The great teacher, believed to be many by the Messiah, wanted to visit a poor boy's tiny house? But Jesus followed Samuel without hesitation. They reached the small mud house where Hannah lay coughing heavily, exhausted and pale. Jesus approached her gently, touched her forehead, and closed his eyes in prayer. The room suddenly filled with a soft, heavenly light, a peace that Samuel had never felt before. Moments later, Hannah's breathing steadied. Her cough ceased. She slowly lifted herself up, her eyes wide with surprise. Samuel ran forward, his voice trembling. "Mother, are you all right?"
Hannah nodded with tears in her eyes. I haven't felt this much strength in years. Jesus stood up and said quietly, when God touches a heart, darkness loses its power. Hannah wept with gratitude. Lord, we have nothing to offer you. Jesus smiled warmly and said, to give love, you need no wealth. Your open heart is enough. He rested his hand on Samuel's shoulder and added, you will shine like a lamp in this world. The world may look down on you, but God will lift you up for his purpose. From the next morning, Samuel's life began to transform. He still worked hard, still fetched water, still helped at the marketplace, but something inside him had changed forever. The fear in his eyes had faded. The shame in his heart had dissolved. He was no longer the broken, insecure boy he once was. He walked with quiet confidence now, because he knew Jesus had seen him, spoken to him, touched his life. The villagers still murmured their usual insults, but the words no longer wounded him. He knew whose voice truly mattered. He started helping others, carrying water for the elderly, sharing his food with the hungry, comforting anyone who felt alone. Gradually, people began to notice something different about him. There is a strange light in this boy, they said. He speaks kindly, he listens, he helps without expecting anything. No one knew the secret except Samuel. He had been transformed by the love of Jesus. Months later, Jesus returned to that region. The crowd swarmed him again, calling his name, reaching out to him. But this time, pushing through the crowd, Samuel stepped forward. He was no longer the timid child. He stood tall, peaceful, confident. Jesus saw him instantly. A smile spread across his face. Samuel fell to his knees and whispered, Lord, you changed my life. Jesus placed his hand on Samuel's shoulder and said, those who open their hearts to God will never walk in darkness again. Tears filled Samuel's eyes, but they were not tears of pain anymore. They were tears of gratitude, hope, and love.
From that day onward, Samuel lived by the teachings Jesus had given him. He forgave easily, loved deeply, and helped fearlessly. He became a beacon of kindness in his village. People who once mocked him now admired him. The same boy who grew up believing he was worthless now carried the light of heaven in his spirit. And Samuel knew with absolute certainty that it was Jesus' unconditional love that had transformed him forever. A love that reaches the forgotten, lifts the broken, and turns the smallest life into a vessel of divine purpose.